Hi everyone, welcome to your June 2023 horoscopes. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead, and I'll be using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. First of all, I just wanted to say a warm welcome to all my new subscribers. My May horoscopes are nearly at 100,000 views. I really don't know how this happened, but I'm very excited, and thank you all for being here today. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. I've got a flash sale on my 2023 horoscopes. So these are about an hour and 45 minutes long, and it's my birthday in 2 days. So I just wanted to do a quick 48-hour sale. So you can purchase yours using the link in the description box below. So today I'm going to be covering the full moon in Sagittarius, Venus entering the sign of Leo, Pluto re-entering the sign of Capricorn, as well as Saturn turning retrograde in Pisces. And lastly, I'm going to finish with the new moon in Gemini. So I'll be going in order from Aries all the way through to Pisces. And you can watch this horoscope for your ascendant, sun, and moon sign. The difference will be that the sun sign pertains more to your career, your creative self-expression, and your big goals and dreams in life. The moon sign horoscope will be more about your family, so family life, relationships, your emotional health and well-being, as well as property and living circumstances. I would say that your rising sign horoscope, which is also known as your ascendant sign, would be the most accurate overall, generally speaking. So, without further ado, let's get into Aries. And also, timestamps will be available about 24 hours after this live stream airs. Please feel free to help me out in the comment section below. That would be much appreciated. So, Aries, sun, moon, and risings. On the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your 9th house. So, full moons are all about a chapter coming to a close or some sort of cycle reaching a peak point. The 9th house is associated with travel, education, your belief systems, as well as court cases and politics. So, with this full moon occurring in your 9th house, some of you Aries may be finishing out some sort of higher education program. And even if you're not, say, finishing school or graduating or finishing off a master's program, it could be that you are concluding an important component of your education, or perhaps you are closing out a chapter with some sort of teacher or mentor. And the 9th house also rules over coaching. So some of you may have some sort of big breakthrough when it comes to mentorship that you are receiving. And of course, the 9th house is also teaching. So some of you may be having a breakthrough as a teacher if you're in that profession. Now, with the 9th house ruling over travel and culture, some of you may be going on a trip away, or if you are already traveling, this travel trip of yours may be coming to a close. With the 9th house ruling over your belief systems, and with full moons in general representing the end of some sort of chapter or cycle, you could be finally deprogramming certain beliefs that you have held that have been quite detrimental to how you are able to I suppose, plan for your future. And I say that because the 9th house rules over our vision for our future, as well as optimism as well, our optimistic side. So if you found yourself being in quite a pessimistic frame of mind when it comes to your full potential and what you can achieve, this full moon in your 9th house may see you overcoming some self-limiting beliefs that you have there. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, and Venus will be in Leo in your 5th house for about 4 months. So Venus will be in Leo until about the first week of October, and there will actually be a Venus retrograde cycle which starts in July, and that goes for 7 weeks. So Venus being in Leo is really going to shake up your fifth house, which rules over romance, dating, creativity, your hobbies, passions, and owning your own business. Now, when I say shake up, it doesn't have to be dramatic because Venus is, after all, the planet of love and it is the lesser benefic. So, in some way, it brings through blessings. And the fifth house is a very lucky house. But because Venus will have a retrograde cycle here, you will, from probably around next month in July, be revising or reevaluating your values when it comes to the fifth house. Nevertheless, having Venus in the fifth house indicates that there will be, for the next 4 months, so until early October, this really big focus on your romantic life, dating, your relationship if you're in one, um, your relationship with your children, if you have children, or perhaps your stance on whether or not you want to start a family. Now, the fifth house rules over children, just generally speaking. So, for some of you, this could represent your students, if you have students, or nieces, nephews. So, in some way, shape, or form, children could become very important to you over the next 4 months in your relationship with them. But on a different level, like I said before, the fifth house rules over our hobbies and passions, and it rules over owning your own business. So, this may be something that you may discover new hobbies or passions. You may want to start a new business venture. And with Venus ruling over your second house, which represents how you value yourself as well as money and finances, and with Venus ruling over your seventh house of relationships, you may decide you want to go into business with another person, or someone else may be investing in your business. In some way, shape, or form, creativity, love, romance, and how confident you feel within yourself will be at the forefront of your mind over the next 4 months. And make sure you stay tuned for my July horoscopes, because I'll be going into detail about how Venus retrograde will impact you. So I will actually be doing my July horoscopes a lot earlier than normal, just because I'm going overseas next month. I should have announced this at the start, but here we are. So make sure you have subscribed if you want to catch my future horoscopes. So on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn. So it's been in Aquarius since July 23rd. So it was about 10 or 11 weeks in your 11th house, but now it's back in the 10th house, and it will be there until it will be retrograde for about 5 or so months, and it will be re-entering Aquarius in January 2024, so next year. With Pluto being in your 10th house, this indicates that there is you're revisiting, let's say, important chapters or cycles which pertain to your career, your worldly responsibilities. For some of you, this will be your relationship with your father or with authority figures, or with maybe upholding some sort of family legacy. And this also pertains to your leadership responsibilities. So, with Pluto retrograde in the 10th house, this can trigger some sort of internal, for want of a better term, crisis when it comes to your public identity. So this doesn't mean that, things are going to be going wrong in your career, or with your responsibilities or a position of leadership. It's more like, what do you want for yourself? How do you want to be perceived in the public eye? Um, how do you want to be perceived at work? What image do you want to be portraying? And when I say perceived, I don't mean in like a superficial sense. It's more like maybe questioning your life purpose or realigning your values. And maybe some of you have returned to work or returned to an industry or a way of being which you associate with a former version of yourself. And now it's like, is this really in alignment with what I stand for and how I want to be known, and what do I want to achieve in my life? So Pluto will re-enter Capricorn once again on the 11th of June. So on that date, plus or minus a couple of days, you may be feeling a little bit out of sorts, especially if you are an Aries sun, moon, or rising at around 28, 29 degrees, just because that'll be making a tight square to you. So just go easy on yourselves and don't be surprised if you're becoming more introspective around that time of June. Okay, so on the 18th of June, there is going to be Saturn is going to re-enter the sign of Pisces. And again, this will be for about 5 or so months. With Saturn, did I say re-enter? I mean stationing retrograde. So Saturn will station retrograde in Pisces at 7 degrees in your 12th house. This is Saturn's first retrograde cycle in the sign of Pisces. So essentially, this means that whatever has been occurring in your life since about the 7th of March, which is when Saturn first entered Pisces, you may be reintegrating this or revisiting this, or projects that you started around that time may stagnate, plateau, or it may be that you are now in some sort of editing phase or auditing phase where you're just like going over what you've learned since that time or what you've worked on. With the 12th house ruling over things like creative writing, film, photography, psychology, anything esoteric in knowledge, anything esoteric in nature, these are the sort of topics that may be coming up for you. And also, the 12th house is associated with our subconscious as well as self-sabotage. So you may be working really hard on not exhibiting those behaviors anymore. So perhaps you're doubling down on your efforts to kick some sort of addiction or to overcome a fear or to really work with maybe a psychologist or someone who's in the occult or spiritual industry to do some really deep healing. And with Saturn ruling over your 10th house as well as your 11th house, this could be in relation to your career. This could be in relation to relationships that you have with your father or a father figure or an authority figure, or with Saturn ruling over your 11th house, this may be to do with friendships in some way, shape, or form. And lastly, for the month, for you guys, on the 18th of June, so the same day, there will be a new moon in Gemini. So this will be at 26 degrees and it will be occurring in your 3rd house, and it will actually be conjunct Mercury, which is the ruler of the new moon. So new moons indicate starting a new chapter or a new beginning. It can even just be the concept for a new idea. And the 3rd house rules over communications, writing, sales, marketing, social media, as well as short-term education courses. So you may be pursuing one of these things. Maybe you're starting a new class. Maybe you are going to be making new friends or building a new website or an app or starting a new writing piece. The 3rd house also rules over licenses, diplomas, and qualifications and certifications. It differs from the 9th house in that the 9th house is more about like a university degree, master's program, or something that's more long term. The 3rd house is more short term education. So you could be starting something which is like a short-term course. Maybe it's just 1 month, given that lunar cycles are 29 and a half days. It could have a 6-month cycle or maybe even an 18-month cycle. And if you have been wanting to, let's say, start a new social media channel or build a website or start writing a book, maybe start a YouTube channel, this is the perfect time to do so. So Aries, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Now I'm going to move on to the sign of Taurus. But first, my tea has brewed. So Taurus, sun, moon, and risings. first and foremost, I'm a Taurus sun, so it's always one of my favorite signs to do. Now, we've got a full moon in Sagittarius at 13 degrees in your eighth house, and this is occurring on the 4th of June. The eighth house is very psychological in nature. It is associated with taxes, mutual resources, deep and profound healing, psychology, anything occult and esoteric in nature. It is also associated with sex, intimacy, as well as profound transformation and fertility. So, having a full moon occur in your eighth house indicates that a chapter or a cycle which pertains to one of those aforementioned things, one or more, doesn't have to be just one, could be taking place around the 4th of June, plus or minus a couple of weeks. So for some of you, you could be finalizing the finalizing what is happening with your mutual resources with another person. This particular full moon is actually going to be trining Mars in Leo and squaring Saturn in Pisces. So there's a bit of push and pull energy on one hand with this full moon. It having the trine to Mars indicates that you have strong willpower, you have confidence in what you want to do and in what you need to do. So you're able to really marshal your energy and push forward. But the square to Saturn does indicate that there's some sort of resistance, or there's maybe one last delay or limitation or hurdle to jump through, or I could even just say red tape. But ultimately, you can be successful in whatever it is that you're trying to close out with this full moon in your eighth house. For some of you, this could be having a profound breakthrough with a psychologist, or with a maybe with an astrologer or a tarot reader. So this could be a moment where you break through or break out of some sort of limitation or fear, or you can finally release some sort of, let's say, long held emotional triggers or disturbances. For some of you, this could be having a powerful breakthrough when it comes to some sort of traumatic event that you've experienced in the past. And for others of you, the full moon in the eighth house could indicate that you are settling some sort of financial some sort of financial account that you have with another person. And also the eighth house is associated with taxes. So this could be that you are working on figuring out those. I know I am personally, which is why this is coming out in your reading, because I'm like, I know what I'm doing around early June. On a different note, with the eighth house being associated with intimacy and vulnerability, this can see you breaking down certain walls and barriers, and being able to truly connect with another person. So on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, which means it will be transiting your 4th house. Now, this is really important for Taurians because Venus is the planet that rules you, which means that wherever Venus goes, whatever Venus is doing, whether it's retrograde, whatever house or sign it's in, this really indicates you and what your focus is on. Okay, so with Venus being in Leo in your 4th house until early October, for the next 4 months, there's this big focus on your property and living circumstances, on your family and home life, on your relationship with your family or with your children. Some of you may be looking to start a family. The 4th house is associated with our emotional health and well-being. So even if there's not this focus on your actual family or your property and living circumstances, this can be about you guys doing some deep healing. The 4th house is one of the houses that is associated with healing because it represents what we protect and what we hold close to our heart. And also the 4th house is associated with our emotional security. So Venus being in Leo in your 4th house indicates that over the next 4 months, you guys are really going to be focusing on what makes you feel emotionally secure. You're going to be focused on your relationships with your family. Even if you're not in contact with your family, that's fine. This could still be about you revisiting those relationships, or maybe you are going to be doing um, some sort of deep dive into your ancestry and lineage. For example, I'm a Taurus, as I mentioned, and over the next 4 months, I'll be spending a bit of time in Greece, and I've got a lot of family in Greece who I've never met. And I'm going to be doing a lot of research and focusing my attention and energy there. So this could be about you looking into your heritage, learning about relatives or your ancestry and lineage, and so on and so forth. This could be a time where you are redecorating your house, or really thinking long and hard about where you want to live. Okay, so I'm not saying you're going to be making changes during June. Probably you wouldn't be. Sorry, I tapped the mic. You probably wouldn't be, just because the retrograde cycle won't start until July. But in any case, this is where your focus will be starting from the 5th of June. And if you have not already subscribed to the channel, I highly recommend that you do so, and that you do catch my July horoscopes, which will actually be airing a lot earlier than normal. So that'll be in the first couple of weeks in June that I'll be filming those. So on the 11th of June, Pluto will be re-entering the sign of Capricorn. And with Pluto going back into your ninth house, for Taurians, this is about there being a chapter that you're closing out with respect to how you view the world, how you view your relationships, especially because Pluto rules over your 7th house. So this can see you maybe recalibrating or reevaluating the future of certain long-term relationships, or they could be undergoing some sort of huge transformation. The ninth house is associated with higher education, travel. It is also associated with culture as well, and anything to do with foreign countries. So some of you Taurians may be traveling during this period of time, and some of you may be going back to study. You may be actually finishing off an education program, or some of you may be going back to school, especially if there's been a big break in between. Ultimately, this Pluto is going to be trining you as a Taurus sun, moon, or rising, but I would be focusing on Taurians at about 28, 29 degrees, like myself. Nevertheless, I think that everyone's really going to notice it. Like all people are going to notice it when Pluto goes back into Capricorn, because Pluto's been in Aquarius for nearly 3 months now, and that was its first stint in Aquarius. So I think that there will be this noticeable shift when it comes to closing out chapters about how you see your future, how's it playing out. Maybe your vision for your future has undergone a dramatic transformation, especially over the last few months. And you could be putting the finishing touches there in, let's say, getting your ducks in a row and getting ready to break out into a new cycle or a new chapter. And maybe it's going to take you until Pluto goes direct again, which is about 5.5 months to move that forward, or perhaps even January 2024 may be significant, because that is when Pluto will re-enter the sign of Aquarius. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to station retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your 11th house. And this will be Saturn's first retrograde stint in the sign of Pisces. The last time Saturn would have been retrograde in Pisces was about 30 years ago. So whatever has been taking place since the 7th of March, which is when Saturn first entered Pisces, this is what you would be revising, editing, going back over, learning at a deeper level, or reintegrating into your life somehow. So the 11th house rules over passive forms of income, your long-term financial future, communities and groups that you're a part of, your wider network. It rules over long-term projects and long-term goals and dreams. So this can see you doubling down your efforts to get something off the ground, especially if this kicked off around March this year. And for some of you, um, you may be working hard at putting together a community, and for others of you, you may be reassessing what your values are when it comes to that community. Do I want to be part of this? Do I want to be friends with these people? Do I feel accepted here? Is there a glass ceiling? Is there someone in my let's say friendship circle who I feel is criticizing me, because Saturn represents criticism, to be chastised, or to be belittled or ostracized. And by the way, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Just remember, Saturn is sextiling you as a Taurus sun, moon, or rising. But and also Saturn belongs in the 11th house, if you think about it, because the 11th house is the house that is associated with Aquarius, just generally speaking, and Saturn rules over the 11th house. So the 11th house is about rewards and gains, and it's a money house too. So this can see you working hard on these projects, working hard on putting into place some sort of money making venture or passive form of income, so that you don't have to work so hard on a day-to-day basis. So that could be a big focus for you over the next 5 or so months, while Saturn is retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So I'm still on Taurus here. Last thing for Taurus, there will be a new moon in Gemini in your second house, and this is also on the 18th of June. So with the new moon in your second house, which is another money house, this is about your money, finances, resources, valuables, your values, your priorities, as well as your sense of self-worth. So this new moon in Gemini will actually be conjunct Mercury, which rules over Gemini. So it's the ruler of the new moon. And this new moon is also going to be squaring Neptune in Pisces. So there could be some sort of um, new stream of income that you are wanting to generate for yourself. This could be you working on self-care, how much you value yourself. You could be making a big investment into something. With the square to Neptune, I would just advise you to be very mindful that you may not have all the information, okay, because Neptune rules over um, illusion, deception, confusion. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be deceived or lose money. It's just that a square to Neptune indicates that you don't have the full picture. And if you feel really, really confident that you do have the full picture, that's even more of a sign that you don't. So, whatever it is, I know it's a bit confusing, but whatever it is that you may be looking to um, start around the 18th of June, especially if it involves your money and finances, just know that there may be a degree of risk here, or you may not have the full picture. I'm not qualified to give you any kind of financial advice, so I won't be doing that. But I'm just saying to be aware of any big purchases that you may be inclined to make around this time, especially because the new moon's at 26 degrees. And 26 degrees is the Taurus degree, it's the money degree. So there could be something here which is um, you know, largely financial in nature that's coming up. And again, this is on the 18th of June, plus or minus a couple of weeks. So Taurus, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And now I'm going to move on to Gemini. This is one of my favorite teas. It's a green tea, and it's called Gorgeous Geisha by T2. This isn't any kind of promotion. I just like to involve you guys in what I'm doing. And also thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everyone. Okay, so Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Risings. This is a big month for you guys because we've got the full moon in Sagittarius in your seventh house. We've got the new moon in Gemini in your first house. And then your 10th house is activated with the Saturn retrograde. The reason why this is a big month is because whenever the four angles, any of the four angles, so the first house, fourth house, seventh house, 10th house are activated, this represents where when we can experience actual tangible events taking place. Whereas some of the other houses can be a little bit more psychological or emotional in nature, these four houses represent movement, action, change, and involvement from or with other people. So I'm sharing that because I hope you guys stick around for this full horoscope. Now, on the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your seventh house. And the seventh house represents your one-to-one personal relationships of all kinds, meaning committed romantic relationships, whether this is your girlfriend, boyfriend, life partner, spouse, or this could be close one-to-one friendships that you have. So, your best friend would be represented by the seventh house, or just close friendships in general, as well as business partnerships and clients. So full moons indicate a situation reaching some kind of peak, or it could be the close of a chapter, or it could also be things being taken to the next level. And the seventh house represents promises and obligations that we make to other people, as well as contracts. So for some Geminis, this can indicate the end of a client contract or relationship with a client. This could indicate closing out some sort of deal or sale, especially if you work in sales or if you have a lot of one-to-one client interactions. On a different note, this can indicate that there is the end of a chapter or an important cycle occurring in the life of your significant other. Look, to be fair, this can indicate some sort of significant new development between you and your significant other or your life partner or spouse. I don't want to necessarily put labels on what could happen, but essentially this indicates that the status of these personal relationships could be undergoing an important development. So for some of you, this could be finishing up a relationship. For others of you, this could be taking it to the next level and making it more official in some capacity. So, in one way or another, I could say that the 4th of June, with the full moon in Sagittarius, this indicates that there is movement in these one-to-one relationships. And for some of you, this could be that you are fulfilling a contract. You're no longer obligated to deliver certain services to someone, or maybe you are changing the nature of one of your relationships where it's like, hey, I know that I used to mow your lawn every Sunday, but just letting you know I can't do that anymore. So it could even just be the closing off of certain agreements that you have with other people. This full moon in Sagittarius is occurring at 13 degrees. So the Geminis who would be the most impacted would be those around 13 degrees plus or minus 5 degrees. But it doesn't have to be, even having the full moon in the seventh house is still significant enough to be the catalyst for some sort of change within these relationships. And also we have a full moon in Sagittarius in the seventh house every year. So for some of you, it could be as simple as maybe having a very clarifying conversation with another person, knowing where you stand. So the next day, on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, which means it will be in your third house, and it will be there for about 4 months until early October, and Venus will have a retrograde cycle from the 22nd of July. So I'm mentioning that because what I'm about to say for Venus being in Leo in your third house, these will be the themes for you which continue to um, unfold over the next 4 months. The third house rules over friends, siblings, relatives. It rules over education, um, short term education courses and programs, as well as websites, apps, anything to do with technology, vehicles, short term travel, and if I didn't say it already, communications pieces. So let's say, if you film documentaries or if you're a writer and so on and so forth. So Venus being in Leo in the third house actually indicates that there may be um, harmony that is being brought to relationships with siblings and relatives and friends. But this will first have to undergo the retrograde cycle or process where you are perhaps reevaluating not reevaluating, well, yeah, reevaluating your relationships with them, but um, maybe they'll have to go through some sort of balancing act first, where it's just like getting onto the same page so that there's equal give and take in those relationships. You may be reassessing who you want to be friends with, who you want to be close with. And Venus being in Leo in your third house indicates that you may be making new friends. That could be a very big focus for you. You could be very focused on um, your creative output when it comes to communications pieces, maybe designing a website, starting a social media profile, maybe innovating something new. And some of you may be wanting to teach or put together some sort of education program, especially because the third house is one of the houses that is associated with education and teaching. And because we've got Venus here, to me, this indicates that it's something that comes easily to you, something that you love. Maybe it's connected to finances, money, resources, or cooking. Venus rules over food, or it could be to do with artistic pursuits, so um, maybe it's creative writing, maybe it's painting, dancing, etc. And Venus rules over the fifth house, which represents owning your own business. And with Venus in the third house is a business house, but it's also, what are you doing with marketing? What are you doing with sales? What are you doing with clients? What products are you selling? And so on and so forth. So this could be a very big focus for Geminis over the next 4 months. I will just make a distinction here to say that if you're a Gemini moon, this is maybe more to do with your relationships, because the moon rules over relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be. If you really identify with your moon sign, then just apply what I've said to your situation as you see fit. Nevertheless, if you're a Gemini sun or rising, this could be to do with starting your own business. But again, just take what I'm saying as it applies to your situation. So um, Geminis, on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn in your 8th house. So this indicates that there is this refocusing of your attention onto the 8th house matters, which is to do with your healing, getting to the root cause of certain fears or blockages, overcoming fears, overcoming addictions potentially. The 8th house is associated with psychology, psychiatry, anything to do with the occult or anything esoteric in nature. So this could be you doing a real deep dive into these areas and really just working on healing and transforming yourself and transforming your life. And because Pluto rules over your 6th house of health, this could be you guys, focusing on healing, focusing on how you can improve your health or improve your daily habits and routines. On a different note, the 8th house is associated with sex and intimacy. So any sort of um, uh, blockages or issues that you may have had in that department could be getting, let's say, teased out or worked on, or you could be getting to the bottom of it. The eighth house rules over mutual resources, as does Pluto. So there could be this finalization that comes through when it comes to uh, perhaps debts that you owe to other people or that are owed to you. This could be to do with finalizing, let's say, financial arrangements that you have with other people, or renegotiating them. That's another way that this could play out. Look, it's a very, Pluto's transits are very psychological in nature, and so is the eighth house. So ultimately, I see this as you guys, or should I say us, because I'm a Gemini rising myself, somehow maybe finishing up the last leg of an important transformation before you can really move forward um, in your life. So I see this as being a very healing time for Geminis and very transformative in nature. And also, I want to mention that Pluto will be retrograde for about 5.5 months, then it'll station direct, but it will not re enter the sign of Aquarius until January 2024. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to station retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and it will be retrograde for about 5.5 months in your 10th house. And Saturn will be stationing retrograde at 7 degrees. So it'll be retrograding from 7 degrees back to 0 degrees, which means that the Geminis who will feel it the most will be those between 0 and 7 degrees. Or I could say, if you're a Gemini sun, then if you're born in the first 8 days of Gemini season. So the 10th house is associated with your career, your life purpose, your leadership responsibilities. It is associated with parenthood as well as authority figures, maybe your own father too. The 10th house rules over our public identity, public image. So when Saturn is retrograde in the 10th house, this is about maybe, well, not maybe, I'm going to go through a few different ways that this can play out. This is associated with you focusing on your career, redefining what you want to do there. Am I happy with this career? Maybe it's about re entering the workforce. Maybe it's about either taking on more responsibilities so that you can advance in terms of your career and your public image. Or for some of you, this could be letting go of certain responsibilities while you focus on other things. Just as an example, like I said before, I'm a Gemini rising, and I'll actually be traveling for several months from mid-June. So I'm going to be taking a pretty big step back when it comes to the private readings that I do. So I could see myself sort of picking back up where I left off when Saturn goes direct again. So obviously, this can play out differently for different people. Ultimately, when Saturn is retrograde in the 10th house, this has us really reestablishing our foundations when it comes to career, when it comes to what we want to be doing with respect to career or life purpose. Even if you're not working, this is still like, what legacy do I want to leave behind? What mark do I want to make on the world? And for others of you, this could be a little bit of a battle of wills when it comes to you and an authority figure, or just pushing back on people, or maybe some sort of establishment that you feel is trying to control you or oppress you. So, moving on, still on the 18th of June, though, there's actually going to be a new moon in Gemini, and this is going to be occurring at 26 degrees in your first house. So, Geminis, when you have a new moon in Gemini, this indicates a new chapter that is starting. Now, the Geminis who would feel this the most would be those at about 26 degrees, plus or minus about 5 degrees. So, let's say 21 through to 29 degrees Gemini. Even if that's not you, still a new moon in Gemini is significant, because this indicates that there's a new chapter that's starting. And this new moon will actually be conjunct Mercury, which is your ruling planet. So for many of you, this can be a new cycle when it comes to how you carry yourself, how you present, how you look. Maybe some of you want to have a bit of a makeover when it comes to your physical appearance. Maybe some of you guys are reconsidering how you view the world, because the first house represents the lens through which we see the world and how we approach it. This new moon in Gemini is going to actually be squaring Neptune, which is in the 10th house. So this could be at the expense of your public image, or this could be you choosing your personal life over your career or over certain responsibilities. And so there could be some sort of sacrifice that you feel that you have to make, which is for your best and highest good. This could actually be the discovery of your higher calling or life purpose. And this could be very confusing for you because of the square to Neptune. So it might have you being like, I feel drawn towards this thing or drawn towards this path in life, but it doesn't look easy. It doesn't look like how I thought my life would look, or maybe this is at odds with what you are currently doing, especially if it's associated with a career path, where you're like, I thought that I wanted to do this, or I'm educated to work in this industry, but now I feel drawn to something completely different, or I just want to walk away from that altogether. Because this is activating your seventh house, in the sense that it's opposite your seventh house and Neptune squaring your seventh house. This could also involve relationships with other people, and maybe you're receiving pushback there, or maybe the direction that you want to go in with certain relationships is somehow going to impact your public image. And so, Geminis, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And now I'm going to move on to Cancer, but first, tea time. So I'm a quarter of the way through. So Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Risings. On the 4th of June, there is going to be a full moon in Sagittarius, and this will be occurring in your 6th house. The 6th house is associated with health. It is associated with work, as well as debts, pets, and your daily habits and routines. The 6th house is associated with cleaning and just like everyday boring stuff. And by that, I mean admin tasks, mundane, trivial matters, running errands, and so on and so forth. So with the full moon in the 6th house, this can indicate that you are closing out an important chapter with respect to one of those areas. So some of you may be walking away from a job. You may be completing a job, and so you no longer have to work on this project anymore. You could have some sort of breakthrough with your daily habits and routines, especially if there's a health habit that you have been trying to implement, or perhaps a quote unquote bad habit that you want to try and kick. This can see you integrating good new habits, for want of a better term, or getting rid of bad habits that have just been niggling away at you. The 6th house is associated with debts, like I said, so you may be paying a debt, or someone may be paying you back. Because the 6th house rules over people that you employ, if you have employees, you may actually be letting go of an employee, or someone may be resigning. And this also rules over services. So by that, I mean, maybe you have someone who comes and cleans your house, and you are, for whatever reason, saying to that person, I no longer require your services. So you could be closing out a chapter in that respect. And for others of you, you could be taking a step back from your daily work responsibilities. And on a different note, you could be having a breakthrough with your health, especially because this full moon in Sagittarius will be trining Mars in Leo. So this could see you um, successfully completing some sort of treatment, or maybe discovering the root cause of a health ailment or issue. To be fair, this full moon is squaring Saturn in the sign of Pisces. And also Saturn will be in your ninth house. So this square indicates that there could be some sort of resistance or pushback here, or there is some sort of difficulty that is associated with the chapter that is coming to a close. And with the full moon, it's on the 4th of June, but you may feel the effects about 2 weeks before the full moon, or maybe 2 weeks after up to 2 weeks after the full moon. And then on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, and it will be there in your second house. So Venus will be in Leo for about 4 months, up until early October, and Venus will have a retrograde cycle for 7 weeks, which will commence on the 22nd of July. So there will be an enormous focus for you on second house matters over the course of the next 4 months, which means there'll be a focus on your finances, your resources, valuables, possessions, how much you're spending, how much you're earning. And then we've also got the second house ruling over food. So maybe your diet will become very important to you. The second house rules over teeth. So this could indicate that there is some sort of focus on going to the dentist, or maybe you're looking at um, making changes there. So going on to a dental treatment plan. With the second house, it also rules over our self-worth and self-care, how we value ourselves. And so because Venus is going to spend 4 months in your second house, there is such a heavy focus on this for you guys. So this is actually going to be a very transformative period when it comes to elevating your sense of self-worth and prioritizing yourself more. With Venus ruling over your fourth house, this could be this chapter of your life could somehow interconnect with your family relationships, or with parenthood or parent planning in some way, shape, or form. Also, this could be associated with your living circumstances. So this could be about saving up to buy a house, or saving up to be able to afford a change of residence. And it could just involve property in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't need to be those specific matters that it's related to. Venus rules over your 11th house, and so this could be associated with your long-term goals for the future, or long-term financial planning, or investments, or people investing in you in some way, shape, or form. And also, this could be a big focus on what your values are and how these may differ to that of your friends or your wider network. I would highly recommend that you do catch my July horoscopes, which I'm going to be filming quite early in June, because I'll be discussing Venus retrograde at length and how that's going to be impacting you. Now, looking at the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re enter the sign of Capricorn in your seventh house. So, anytime we have transits to the seventh house, this indicates that there are very significant chapters that are playing out with respect to our personal relationships with other people. Pluto will be retrograde for about 5.5 months, and Pluto will re enter the sign of Aquarius in January 2024. So, as Cancers, having Pluto spend about, what's this going to be? 7 months or so in your seventh house. This is all about you really understanding your close personal relationships at a deeper level, Are you happy in your marriage? Are you happy in your long-term relationships? What is the give and take like when it comes to personal relationships of all kinds, whether this is your client relationships, business partnerships, or even close personal friends? This can see you really understanding the motivations of these people that you're in a relationship with, especially because Pluto represents these deep psychological impulses. But then with Pluto being retrograde in your seventh house, this can see you understanding the importance that these relationships have on you and maybe over you. Because worst case scenario is Pluto being in your seventh house represents being manipulated in some way, shape, or form, or feeling beholden to another person or controlled by another person. And so, this is really about you reclaiming your personal power within these relationships and really analyzing and assessing whether or not certain relationships are meant for you. You know, are they meant to, um, are you meant to continue on with certain connections that you have with other people? And this can see there being a turning of the tables in the sense that if you have felt that other people have um, been exerting an undue or an inordinate amount of power over you or influence over you, this can see you understanding that at a deeper level and it being brought into your conscious awareness. So now you can work on it. And that's not to say that there's going to be some sort of crisis within your personal relationships. It's more indicative of the fact that how you feel on a deep level about your relationships with other people is going through some sort of transformative process, or you're undergoing a shift in this department. Now, the Cancerians who would be the most affected by this would be those at about 28 and 29 degrees, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and risings. That's not to say that the rest of you won't feel it. Cancers, I think, are very sensitive to the transits just because you guys are ruled by the moon and your water signs. And so you're very in tune, intuitive, and emotional. And essentially, Pluto re entering your seventh house can see you potentially having an emotional day, let's say on the 11th of June, plus or minus a couple of days. So if you suddenly feel um, a little bit scattered, or like you want to retreat or withdraw, it would be perfectly understandable. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to station retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and this will be in your ninth house. So, Saturn has been in Pisces since the 7th of March this year, and it will be retrograding from 7 degrees back to 0 degrees. And this retrograde cycle will be for about 5.5 months. So, um, the ninth house is all about higher education, learning, your belief systems, and travel. And it rules over other things as well, like court cases. So these matters may be coming up for you. You may be having to, you may be going through an editing process if you're completing some sort of master's program. You may be going back to school. You may be looking at trying to change mentors or change um, let's say the course or the program that you're enrolled in. Some of you may be appealing a court case decision, or you may be reopening a court case or a legal matter. On a different note, this can see some of you um, really trying to deprogram certain belief systems that seem to be built in. Okay, because the ninth house rules over our beliefs, and Saturn represents our foundations. So if there are some foundational beliefs that you uphold, that are really buried deep, and you feel like these are no longer in alignment with, let's say, your conscious mind or how you want to be moving forward in the world, this can see you working very, very hard to deprogram that, to reconstruct that, to um, really rebuild from the ground up so that you don't feel as though there's a glass ceiling on your potential and what you can achieve in the world, or your vision or your future, your vision for your future, I should say. So when Saturn is in the ninth house, this can indicate that there is some sort of maturation process that you were going through. So you may feel as though certain life experiences that you've had have simply led you to see the world differently or to carry yourself differently. And this can see some of you working with an important mentor or teacher who helps you with discipline, or it could be that you become reacquainted with an important mentor or teacher. To be fair, because Saturn is retrograde, some of you may be taking a little bit of a breather when it comes to your education. So maybe you're going to have a few months off, maybe you're taking a term or semester off or a sabbatical. And for others of you, if I didn't say this already, this can indicate that you may be revising your international travel plans. The ninth house and having Saturn here could indicate that some of you are pursuing a visa, or permanent residency, or something to do with official documents or documentation as it pertains to your international travel plans. Now, moving along for Cancers, also on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini, and this will be occurring in your 12th house. At the new moon's at 26 degrees. So the 12th house is a very psychological house in astrology. So for some of you, it could be that nothing's really happening in the tangible world, but what is occurring in your inner world could be quite significant for you. So some of you may be starting meditation or yoga, or working on something creatively behind the scenes. So this could be something that other people are not aware of. You could be getting into astrology or tarot, maybe purchasing your own deck. With this new moon in Gemini, it's actually going to be conjunct Mercury, which is the ruler of the new moon, and it will be squaring Neptune in Pisces. So, oh my God, sorry, I thought my laptop was about was about to fall. My heart just stopped for a moment. Let me just bear with me, guys. Okay, now I'm knocking my microphone over. And yesterday I spilled coffee on my laptop too, so I'm having a bit of a moment. With this new moon in Gemini occurring in your 12th house, this could indicate that some of you are going to have a profound experience, maybe with an astrologer or a hypnotherapist, or a psychic medium. Some of you may be discovering new intuitive abilities. And because of the square to Neptune in Pisces, this could indicate that there is some sort of confusion that is coming up for you, especially with respect to trying to figure out what you want to do with your future. And I say this because the ninth house is about your optimism for the future, or your perspective, or your belief systems. So there could be something which occurs around the new moon in Gemini, which is on the 18th of June, which calls into question your entire belief system. So Cancer, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And it's going to be your season, actually, partway through the month, from about the 21st of June. So this is a very exciting time for you Cancerians, where you can be more in the limelight, have more career success, especially if you're a Cancer sun. You could be feeling more attractive, or you could just be seeing that there is an improvement in your relationships around the 21st of June, or you just could be feeling like people are noticing you more. So happy birthday to all the Cancerians out there, and happy Cancer season. And now I'm going to move on to Leo. Just give me one moment. Need to stay hydrated so that my voice lasts. Mm. So, Leo, Sun, Moon, and Risings on the 4th of June. There will be a full moon in Sagittarius, and this will be occurring in your fifth house. The fifth house is associated with fun, confidence, your hobbies and passions, dating, romance, children, and owning your own business. So, when we have a full moon, this indicates that there is a chapter reaching some sort of peak or climax. We can be having a breakthrough in this department. The fifth house is associated with performance. So there could be some sort of important performance that you're giving. So maybe you're an athlete or an actor or a dancer, and you could be in the limelight for one reason or another. On a different note, this could indicate that some of you may actually be getting pregnant because the fifth house rules over children. If you already have children, this can indicate that there is maybe an important chapter which is coming to a close in their life. Typically speaking, the fifth house rules over the firstborn child, but it does represent all of your children, just generally speaking. So take it as it resonates. For others of you, this can indicate that you may be launching a new business, or you may be launching a new service or putting up a new product for sale. This could indicate finishing some kind of creative project, even if it's not being shown to the world. Maybe you're finishing um, a painting or a drawing, and this can indicate that you're feeling happy with yourself, feeling proud of what you've achieved, as you should. And the fifth house is also associated with um, hobbies and passions, which I mentioned before. So this could see you having some sort of breakthrough in that department, or really prioritizing having fun. A full moon in the fifth house can indicate attending like a fun social event or social party, especially because this full moon will be trining Mars in Leo in your first house. To be fair, it will be squaring Saturn as well. So there may be a little bit of resistance that comes through with this full moon, or there could be someone who comes in and is being a bit of a Debbie Downer. So I would just encourage those of you who have something to celebrate to just not listen to the naysayers or to the negative Nancys. And for others of you, this could indicate that there is an important development in your dating life. So you could be entering a relationship, you could be getting closure with some sort of romantic situationship that you're involved in. And for others of you, this could indicate that there is an important um, development that is happening there. And I mean, I'm going to go into this anyway with Venus being in Leo. I was going to say, like, worst case scenario, this could indicate the end of a romantic cycle or a romantic chapter with another person. But please don't fear, for two reasons. One, this is a general reading, so take it as it resonates. Not all of this is going to pertain to you. And the second thing is, Venus is going to be in Leo for 4 months, starting from the 5th of June. And Venus is a planet of love and relationships, and it is a planet which brings blessings and good fortune. So, no matter what's happening in your love life around, let's say, the full moon in Sagittarius, there is some sort of transformation that will be occurring over the course of the next 4 months here. So, Venus will be in Leo in your first house from the 5th of June through till early October, and it will have a retrograde cycle which starts on the 22nd of July and which will be taking place for 7 weeks. I strongly advise you Leos to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because I'll be making a big song and dance about it, Leo style, in my July horoscopes when I cover the retrograde cycle. And nevertheless, with Venus being in your first house over the next 4 months, this indicates that there is a big focus on your appearance, how you carry yourself, how you dress, whether that's hair, makeup, clothing, style. And this isn't to say that it's a superficial transit. It's really not. This represents how much you value yourself, because Venus rules over your value system. It rules over beauty, self-worth, money, valuables, possessions, and how we nurture ourselves, how we care for ourselves, what we feed ourselves. Venus rules over food as well. So Venus being in your first house indicates that over the next 4 weeks, 4 months, I beg your pardon, there is going to be an incredible focus for you on what you are doing to elevate your self-worth, to elevate your confidence. And with Venus ruling over your 10th house, which is Taurus, this pertains to your public identity, your public image, your life purpose, your career, your higher worldly responsibilities. And Venus rules over your third house, which is associated with friends, education, communications pieces, communications in general, communications pieces, how you communicate, as well as relationships with siblings and relatives. So all of this stuff is going to be of enormous importance to you, Leos, over the course of the next 4 months. So Leos in general will be affected by this Venus in Leo transit more than anyone. To be fair, Libras and Taurians will both be affected because Venus is their ruling planet. But essentially, this is a time where you are going to look, speak, feel, behave, and act differently. So it's a huge deal for Leos. And I'm very excited for all the Leos who are in my life, as I'm curious to see what this transit is going to bring for them in the way of elevating their self-love, their confidence. Leos, this is about you enhancing your natural beauty and discovering and perhaps rediscovering natural talents and gifts. Venus is one of the planets that is associated with creativity, and Leo is one of the most creative signs of the whole zodiac, if not the most creative sign. So this can see you unblocking any sort of self-limiting beliefs when it comes to your creative capacity, especially with respect to your career and what you are able to achieve. And also, Venus is a planet of love and relationships. So, just generally speaking, this is a great time for romance and for love for Leos, because Venus in your sign is having you become more attractive because you feel more attractive, because you value yourself more. And so I'll leave that transit there for now. And like I said, I will be going into a lot of detail next month in July. So stay tuned for that. I will actually be filming my July horoscopes very early in June, simply because I'm going to be traveling for several months from mid-June. So I haven't picked the date yet, but I will be filming my my July horoscopes within the first 10 days of, maybe the first 11 or 12 days of the month. I digress. On the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn in your 6th house, and Pluto will be in Capricorn again until January 2024, and the retrograde cycle will be for about 5.5 months. So this indicates that you're tidying up loose ends when it comes to health habits, daily routines, daily routine and habits. This can indicate a time where you may be tempted to fall back into old habits. So this is, I don't want to say a warning, but this is just a gentle reminder for Leos who have maybe overcome some form of addiction or unhealthy habit in their lives, that you may be tempted to fall back into those patterns. So just make sure that you have the appropriate support systems and networks in place for you, just to really stick to your guns and maintain your willpower in that department. On a different note, this can indicate that for Leos who have had some sort of health ailment or issue, you may be discovering what the true root cause of that is. And so this could be a deeply healing and transformative time for you. The sixth house rules over our day-to-day work life. So Pluto retrograde in the sixth house or re-entering Capricorn in your sixth house can indicate that you're having some profound realizations when it comes to what you actually want to be doing with work. And for some of you, this could be taking back up an old dream that you had or pursuing something which you've always been interested in, but you've kind of kept under wraps. For others of you, this could see you wanting to walk away from a certain type of work lifestyle that you've had for a really long time. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to re enter the sign of Pisces, and Saturn will be, sorry, I keep saying re enter. Saturn will be retrograde in Pisces, in your eighth house. And this is the first time that Saturn will be retrograde in Pisces. The last time Saturn was retrograde in Pisces was about 30 years ago. So this can see you really going over what has taken place in your life and what has changed in your life since March. And I say this because Saturn first entered the sign of Pisces back on the 7th of March this year, and it's been direct in Pisces up till 7 degrees. So we're going to be retrograding from 7 degrees back to 0 degrees over the next 5 or 5.5 months. And with Saturn retrograde in the 8th house, this can see you really delving into healing when it comes to emotional blockages and barriers, especially with respect to intimacy, being vulnerable, your sex life. This can see you working on healing certain things that have been troubling you. And I say that because the eighth house is associated with our, let's say, fears, addictions, and anything, any kind of emotional disturbance that we haven't really wanted to look at. So Saturn retrograde here in the eighth house is really leaving you no choice but to comb through any kind of emotional disturbance that you've been experiencing, things that you've been suppressing or avoiding or not wanting to deal with. This can indicate that there are some, let's say, legal matters that you may have to work on with respect to your mutual resources. You could be looking at separating your finances from another person, or this could see you actually working on setting emotional boundaries. Maybe you need to, maybe you want, not necessarily need, to start being mindful about how much time and energy you give to other people. Okay, so Saturn rules over your seventh house, which is Aquarius, as well as your sixth house. So this could be about you being very conscious of your relationships that you have with other people. Saturn retrograde in the eighth house could indicate that you feel that it's time to break away from certain relationships, or to no longer uphold certain commitments. So if you've been, for example, helping someone out financially or with your resources, this could indicate that you no longer want to do that anymore. And on a different level, Saturn retrograde in the eighth house may indicate that you are being put in a position or finding yourself in a position where you have to accept resources or help from another person. And maybe this is a very humbling experience for you. So that's a few ways that could play out. Now, also on the 18th of June, there's going to be a new moon in Pisces, in Gemini, in your 11th house at 26 degrees. The 11th house is a money house. It is associated with your wider network. This can see you joining a new community, starting a new long-term project, or discovering a new long-term dream or goal. You could be actualizing it. On a different note, this can indicate that you are um, generating a new form or stream of passive income, because the 11th house rules over passive income, rents, royalties, dividends. The 11th house is also associated with investments and people who invest in us. So you could find that there is someone who is investing in you, especially because this new moon in Gemini will be conjunct Mercury. And Mercury rules over contracts and relationships, friendships, let's say, and business clients. So this could also be you going into business with another person. Maybe you're collaborating, maybe you're starting a new social media um, profile. For some of you, you could be entering into a new collaboration with another person. And because this new moon in Gemini is going to be squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 8th house, there may be something about this which you are not fond of, or a sacrifice that you need to make, okay? Because the square represents that there is something of a challenge that's being presented here. And with Neptune being in the 8th house, maybe this is you needing to invest more than the other person, or maybe this is you needing to accept help or generosity from the other person. So again, the shoe could be on the other foot. There could just be a bit of emotional dis-ease when it comes to who does what in this relationship, because Neptune is in the 8th house, and the 8th house is mutual resources. And lastly, with Neptune being in the 8th house, it could just be that there is a slightly unsettled feeling about this new chapter, because there could be a degree of uncertainty about the outcome here, or perhaps even the time frame. Now, that's it for you, Leos. So if you enjoyed this horoscope, if you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the like button and please subscribe. And like I said, I'll be going into lots and lots of detail for Venus retrograde in Leo for next month. Enjoy your June, Leos, and I will catch you next time. Now I'm going to move on to Virgos. So fortunately for Virgos, Mercury is finally direct again. And I'm a Virgo moon and a Gemini rising. So every time Mercury is retrograde, it's really just something else. So this is for my Virgo sun, moon, and risings. And by the way, June is a really big month for Virgos because your 4th house is activated, your 7th house is activated, and your 10th house is activated. And these are the angular houses, as is the 1st house. So whenever the angular houses are activated, this is when we see real world movement and change occurring in our lives. For you guys, just straight off the bat, looks like there's changes occurring in your home life, family life, property and living circumstances, your personal relationships, and your career, your public identity. So that's the summary, but now let's get into detail. So on the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius at 13 degrees in your 4th house. The Virgos who will be the most affected will be those at about 13 degrees plus or minus 5 degrees. So that would be 8 degrees Virgo through till 18 degrees. Nevertheless, because it's squaring you, you're still going to feel it. With this occurring in your 4th house, this indicates that there is an important chapter or cycle which is coming to a close or reaching some sort of peak that is associated with property and living circumstances. So maybe your lease is coming up, maybe you're selling a property, maybe you're buying, maybe you're changing over with tenants. You could just be moving house. On a different note, this could indicate that there is an important development happening with your family, your home life. So this could be to do with who lives with you, who you live with. So someone could be moving out, someone could be moving in. There could be important developments taking place with you and your immediate family, you and your significant other, you and your children, or for some of you, this could actually be getting pregnant. On a different level, you could just be having a clarifying conversation with a family member, or maybe you're discovering something about your family, or your ancestry or lineage, on a different note. With the full moon occurring in your fourth house, even if it doesn't involve other people, this could see you having some sort of emotional breakthroughs, especially because the full moon is trining Mars in Leo, which is in your 12th house. So this could be the understanding of self sabotaging behavior, self limiting beliefs, letting go of emotional triggers, trauma, or baggage that has been weighing on you for a very long time. So this could be some kind of breakthrough which is taking place in that department. To be fair, there is a square to Saturn in Pisces that this full moon is making. So there could still be some sort of resistance or pushback from another person. Or maybe in order for you to have this breakthrough, you need to um, limit your interactions with another person, or really just like set strong boundaries with other people, like strong emotional boundaries, I mean to say. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus will enter the sign of Leo, and it will be in your 12th house for about 4 months until early-ish October. Venus will be having a retrograde cycle from the 22nd of July. So, um, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because I'll be going into heaps and heaps of detail about Venus being retrograde in Leo next month when I do my July horoscopes. Nevertheless, with Venus being in your 12th house, this indicates that there is an enormous focus on deep healing, spirituality, anything occult and esoteric in nature, your own intuitive abilities. This indicates that there's a big focus for many of you on things like meditation, yoga, maybe attending some sort of retreat or isolating. So finding solace within your own company. This can indicate that you are really focusing on your healing and really going within. Some of you may have very profound psychic and intuitive experiences over the next 4 months. The fourth house is also the 12th house, I mean to say, is also a very creative house in astrology, and it rules over things like poetry, creative writing, um, acting, music, and filmography, photography, and so on and so forth. So you may be working on creative projects that pertain to those matters. You may be um, writing song lyrics, producing music, writing poetry, writing a book, perhaps. Probably nonfiction, because the 12th house is all about fantasy and mysticism. And with Venus ruling over your second house, which is money, finances, resources, and valuables, this could indicate that there are quite a number of financial expenses for you over the next 4 months. But it could be that you're investing in your future, because Venus also rules over your ninth house, which is Taurus. So you could be investing in education, travel. You could be investing in working with a business coach, or some sort of mentor or coach or psychologist. Doesn't need to be business related, just by the way. In any case, this is a time for really deep and profound healing for us Virgos. And on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn in your fifth house. So first of all, Pluto will be trining you as a Virgo, but the Virgos who will feel it the most will be those at about 28, 29 degrees, maybe 27 degrees Virgo, because it'll be making that close trine there. In any case, this indicates having deep and profound um, realizations when it comes to your romantic life, dating life, your relationship with your children if you have them. Maybe this is about your stance on whether or not you want to start a family. The fifth house represents our hobbies, passions, as well as owning our own business. So there could be important developments here. Maybe you are reopening a business, revisiting old business venture concepts and ideas. You may actually be looking at closing out your business or transforming it in some way, shape, or form. So, really, um, you know, looking at recalibrating the guts of your business. What do you stand for? What do you want it to achieve? What do you what level of satisfaction are you deriving from your creative hobbies, passions, pursuits, and owning your own business? And ultimately, for some of you, this can indicate that if you've gone through a period of not dating, you could be re entering the dating. I hate saying the dating pool, but I was already going to say that. So you could be re entering the dating pool. And because the fifth house rules over your romantic life, and this is more about the romance that you have, the passion, as well as sex. Pluto rules over sex too. This could be a period of time where you are reestablishing what your psychological understanding is of your approach to dating or your approach to your sex life or your romantic life. And for some of you, this could be about transforming that relationship that you have with another person and really working on getting more intimate with each other and feeling closer to one another. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to station retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your seventh house. It will be retrograde from 7 degrees back through till 0 degrees, and it will be retrograde for about 5.5 months. The Virgos who will be the most impacted will be those between 0 and 7 degrees, just because those are the retrograde degrees. Doesn't mean you won't feel it if you're not within those degrees, but just special shout out to those Virgos, which includes me. Now, Saturn being retrograde in your seventh house indicates that you can be reestablishing relationships that you have with other people. You can be rebuilding these. You may be setting stronger boundaries with others. You may feel that your boundaries are tested. This can be in romantic relationships. This can be with close personal friendships and relationships. This could be with clients. Some of you may be pruning your client tree. So maybe you are moving to a closed book system or operation. Maybe you're having to limit or restrict the amount of clients that you take on with anyone who's in sales and consulting. This can indicate that there may be a bit of a dip in the amount of clients that you are having coming to you, or it could be that you're actually working really hard on like a long-term project. So you could be working very closely with just a handful of clients, and this could start to move in the opposite direction in about 5.5 months. Sorry, that was my cat. Let's see if he makes an appearance. Anyway, so um, for me personally, as a 1 degree Virgo moon, I'm going to be taking a step back from my private readings over the next few months because I'm going on an extended travel trip, so I can already see this playing out for me personally. So the reason I mention that is because taking a step back from work or with your client relationships doesn't need to be a negative thing or something that is thrust upon you. You could be the one who is making that decision for yourself because of personal reasons or whatever those reasons are. It doesn't matter. Also, on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini conjunct Mercury, and this will be squaring Neptune. So the new moon will be at 26 degrees, Gemini, and that means that the Virgos who will be the most impacted will be those between um, those at 26 degrees, but let's say from about 21 degrees through till 29 degrees Virgo. So a new moon in the 10th house conjunct Mercury, which is your chart ruler, indicates that there is a new beginning or a new chapter which is taking place, which is associated with your public image, how you're showing up in the world, how people are perceiving you, perhaps your career, your work. This could be starting a new job, starting in a new industry. Maybe you are looking at opening up your own business and working for yourself. For others of you, this can indicate that a promotion could be coming in, or some sort of position of leadership, which is being in, which you're taking up. So this is an exciting time for Virgos because the new moon in your 10th house indicates um, this new cycle that is starting. And because it is conjunct your chart ruler, you're having a direct hand in this. You are deciding what direction to go in, or this is somehow going to be important with respect to your life purpose, or just really this could be you redefining what you want to do with your life, how you want to be seen. And this doesn't just have to be career. Sometimes activations to the 10th house can indicate a change of status. And this could be relationship status, this could be becoming a parent, this could even be like job title, or even something to do with citizenship or legal matters. So, for example, an activation to the 10th house could indicate that someone is going from being single to in a relationship, or, not being a parent to becoming a parent, or um, self employed to, I don't know, employed by an establishment once again. So, anyway, I'm sure I've made myself clear there, went on a bit of a tangent. So, in terms of the effects of the new moon in Gemini, they can be felt most strongly around the 18th of June, but even 1 to 2 weeks before, or 1 to 2 weeks after. So, Virgo, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Enjoy your month ahead, and I will see you guys in July. So now I'm going to move on to Libra, and I'm officially halfway. I can't believe I'm an hour and 37 minutes in. As per usual, I always go for longer than I expect, and it's really hard for me to keep track of time. Anyway, on the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your 3rd house, and the 3rd house is associated with communications, friendships, business matters, sales, marketing, short-term education, courses, diplomas, certifications, as well as short-term travel. So a full moon in the 3rd house can indicate the ending of a chapter in one of those areas, or just something reaching completion. So for some of you, you could be receiving some sort of qualification, whether that is like a diploma, or now you are certified in a certain area. You could be finishing up a short-term education course. I think I just said that. Sorry. I'm getting a bit distracted now that I'm halfway. On a different note, maybe you are finishing up some sort of documentary that you've been filming, maybe a book that you've been writing, or a short story. This could see you fulfilling some sort of contract. So contract could be coming to a close. You could be landing a big deal or a big sale. And for others of you, you could be having a very important conversation with a friend, sibling, or a relative. And worst case scenario is maybe having a bit of a blowout or a fallout with another person. But just remember, we have new moons and full moons every month, and they don't necessarily need to be a big deal. I guess the reason I'm mentioning this is because this full moon in Sagittarius will be squaring Saturn in Pisces, which represents there could be some sort of um, resistance or pushback here, or some sort of um, feeling of dissatisfaction. But to be fair, the full moon is also trining Mars in Leo, which is very, very um, positive when it comes to standing up for your beliefs, especially because Mars is in the 11th house. So this is like you um, not being shy to um, go against the grain when it comes to your wider network or a community that you're part of. And this also indicates having a lot of willpower that you can fall back on. So ultimately, I see this particular full moon as being very, very positively supported by the trine to Mars. And so, if you need a bit of oomph, if you need to be assertive, especially with other people, the trine to Mars in Leo is really going to help you with that. So, Libras, on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo in your 11th house, and Venus is your ruling planet. Venus is going to be in Leo for about 4 months, up until around the first the start of October, and Venus will be retrograde from the 22nd of July for about 7 weeks. So whenever Venus has a retrograde cycle, this is hugely impactful for Libras as well as Taurians, and that is because you are both ruled by the sign of Venus. So Venus in the 11th house for 4 months indicates that the following matters will be of significance or importance to you over this 4 month period: friendships, communities, your wider network, your long term goals and dreams for the future, your um, your long-term projects, investments, passive forms of income, rents, royalties, dividends, people investing in you, collaborations with other people. The 11th house rules over awards, rewards, gains. It's a money house. So this can indicate that finances and receiving some sort of recognition for your efforts will be part of your path over the next 4 months. So, whatever's starting around the 5th of June, just know that these concepts, these themes, they will continue to unfold up until sort of early October with respect to reaching a conclusion, or maybe finishing out a project, or how long you may be working with another person, or how long it takes to get something off the ground. All of this stuff is going to be playing out within that four week period. And I mean, it's quite lovely to have your ruling planet in the 11th house sextiling you. So even though with retrogrades, this is all about Venus retrograde certainly is all about undergoing some sort of stringent reevaluation process with respect to your relationships with other people and how you fit into group dynamics. Even still, you're going to come out the other side feeling like you're more in alignment with yourself, that you are more in alignment with the company that you are keeping when it comes to other people. So, by all means, I would recommend that you subscribe to the channel and that you do catch my July horoscopes, which I'll be filming in early June, because I will be going into a lot of detail about the Venus retrograde, which is taking place on the 22nd of July. But moving along, on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn, and it will be in your fourth house. So it'll be in your fourth house until January 2024, but the retrograde cycle will take place over the course of the next 5.5 months, but it'll go back into Aquarius in January. So with Pluto being in your fourth house, this is seeing you guys revisit these themes that are associated with your family, with your lineage, your heritage, your emotional health and well being, what you require for emotional security, especially with respect to your family dynamics and your relationships with um, parents, children, even flatmates, housemates, and your significant other, because the fourth house is associated with relationship dynamics just in general. So, this can see you focusing on reclaiming your sense of personal power within one or more of those relationships. You may be going through a huge transformation process with respect to your family life, or perhaps even your property and living circumstances, especially if you are about to embark on a big life change when it comes to where you are living. Um, the Libras who would be the most impacted would be those at about 28, 29 degrees. And that is because Pluto will be making a tight square to you. Nevertheless, you'll probably be feeling it around the 11th of June, plus or minus a couple of days, no matter what degree you are as a Libra. On the 18th of June, Saturn will station retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your sixth house. And so this can see you really focusing on your everyday work life. This can see you focusing on your health, your daily habits and routines. And so for many of you, you will be either returning to the workforce or stripping back your work commitments. So basically, Saturn retrograde can indicate that you are doubling down on how much work you're doing. So there could be a really big project that you're trying to carry out. You could be required to put in more hours at work. You could be working on your business systems and processes, especially because Saturn rules over your fifth house, which represents owning your own business. But Saturn retrograde can indicate taking a step back or lessening your responsibilities or taking a break from work. So it really just depends on you and your personal chart. If this is not pertaining to your work life, it could be that you are working on your health and your daily habits and routines and integrating healthier habits, or maybe you're working that much harder to overcome unhealthy habits. In any case, Saturn does quite well in the sixth house because the sixth house is about hard work. And Saturn is about discipline and commitment. So, this can see you working extremely hard to make sure that you are um, maintaining maintaining a high level of discipline, whether this is in your health life, your work life. You could be going through a cleaning process. So maybe you are decluttering, cleaning out the house. Maybe you're trying to prepare it to um, welcome in a newborn into your life, or maybe you're looking at selling your house or preparing it for something. And the reason I'm saying that is because Saturn rules over your fourth house, which represents owning your own house, which represents property and living circumstances, I mean to say. And it also rules over your fifth house, which represents children. So that could be one way that it is playing out. Or you could be working hard to pay off some sort of debt or loan. Now, lastly, Libras, on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini, and this will be occurring in your ninth house and it will be conjunct Mercury. So, a new moon in the ninth house can see you um, starting up some sort of new education course. So maybe you are looking at enrolling in university or college. You could be learning something new, maybe learning a new language. You could be planning a trip. You could be purchasing a ticket to go overseas. On a different note, because this new moon is squaring Saturn and it's in the ninth house, as in the new moon's in the ninth house, you could be initiating legal proceedings against another person, or perhaps you were just making some inquiries about legal matters. And lastly, the ninth house rules over actually, two more points I want to make. The ninth house rules over publishing, and this new moon is in Gemini and it's conjunct Mercury. So there could be some sort of connection here to becoming a published writer or getting your work published and circulated in some way, shape, or form. And lastly, the ninth house is associated with your belief systems. So the new moon is at 26 degrees Gemini. So first of all, this will make a trine to you as a Libra sun, moon, or rising, especially those of you between 21 and 29 degrees. But also, this indicates that there is this new set of beliefs that are coming through, and this is about you focusing on your future, reaching your full potential, and understanding the ways in which you may have been self-sabotaging, especially because this new moon will actually be squaring Neptune in the sixth house. So please, um, please just bear in mind that a level of doubt in your capabilities may be presented by this square to Neptune, but that does not represent reality. So a square to Neptune is most certainly things not being what they seem. So if you're feeling any sense of trepidation, or that you won't have the resources or the means or the know-how to achieve the kinds of things you want to achieve, that's just Neptune wreaking havoc on your sense of optimism. So, stay true to what your goals and dreams are for yourself, because you can achieve anything. So, Libra, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please hit the like button. If you want to see more content on this channel, please subscribe. And I do recommend that you check out my July horoscopes, because I will be going into so much detail with Venus, your ruling planet, being retrograde in Leo in your 11th house. So now I'm going to move on to the sign of Scorpio. But first, just give me a little bit of a breather. Okay. And thanks everyone for all of your support in the chat. It's always really nice to read through the comments and see what you guys have to say. So, Scorpio, sun, moon, and risings. You guys are going to have a full moon in Sagittarius in your second house at 13 degrees, and this will be occurring on the 4th of June. So, full moons in the second house can indicate that you are potentially going to receive a lump sum of money, maybe a valuable or a possession as a gift. You may be making an important financial investment. This full moon will be trining Mars in Leo, and Mars is your ruling planet. So, in some way, shape, or form, this indicates that there is something positive that is coming through with this full moon in Sagittarius. But please bear in mind that it will also be squaring Saturn. So it could be that there is a delay that is associated here, or a little bit of red tape. So, for example, if you are going to be receiving some sort of valuable or possession or investing in something, maybe there's a waiting period. Maybe it has to go through customs, or there's a delay in the post. On a different note, if you are maybe receiving money, or you're going to receive an increase in your salary, there could just be some bureaucratic hoops to jump through first, or there could be some sort of delay in this process. On a different note, this can indicate that you are having a breakthrough when it comes to how much you value your self-worth. And so this could be associated with feeling as though you are not being financially or appropriately financially compensated for the value that you contribute. And so there may be some sort of conversation that you need to have, which, again, there could be some pushback here. So this could be with your boss or an authority figure, or maybe you're going to your clients and saying, hey, I want to renegotiate the terms of our contract. So again, that is on the 4th of June, but you may be experiencing these themes about 1 to 2 weeks before, or even up to 1 to 2 weeks after the full moon. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, and it will be in your 10th house for about 4 months until early October. The reason it'll be in Leo for so long is because it will have a retrograde cycle from the 22nd of July. So, with Venus in your 10th house, this indicates that there is such an enormous focus on your public status, your career, your public image and identity, how you are showing up in the world, as well as relationship status for many of you. And I'm saying this because the 10th house rules over your career, it rules over how you are perceived. I could say that it represents your reputation preceding you. So this is what you are known as and what you are known for. And it really has a strong connection to your career, vocation, as well as positions of leadership. So there could be a recalibration which is taking place with respect to your career, what you want to be doing, who you want to be working for, the ways in which you want to work, who you want to be in business with, or who you want to be in a relationship with. Because Venus rules over the 7th house, which rules over one-to-one partnerships, contracts, as well as relationships. So there could be a romantic status which is undergoing a change or a shift, or maybe who you are in a business partnership with could be changing. And this could even just indicate that your affiliations with certain individuals or organizations could be reestablished, or those relationship dynamics could be subject to change. In any case, what you do, how you show up in the world, how you what you want on your resume, what you want on your LinkedIn, or what you want to be known for with respect to your career and your legacy and what you stand for, all of this is coming um, up for you over the next 4 months. So, this is one of the most defining points for you with respect to your career and your public reputation that you will be experiencing during 2023. If you want to know more about this, I highly recommend that you subscribe to the channel and that you watch my July horoscopes, which I will be filming in early June. Now, on the 11th of June, Pluto will be re entering the sign of Capricorn in your 3rd house. I'm more of a traditionalist in the sense that I see Mars as being the ruler of Scorpio, but for the record, Pluto is the modern ruler. I just see it as Mars has more of an impact because it is a planet which is closer to Earth. So, Pluto re entering the sign of Capricorn in your 3rd house indicates that there is once more a big focus on siblings, relatives. Sorry, one sec, guys. Siblings, relatives, your friendships, um, your communications pieces, communication style, and ultimately your skill set as well. So, with Pluto re entering Capricorn in your 3rd house and being retrograde for the next 5.5 months, there could be a very big realization which is taking place for you when it comes to how you navigate these relationships with siblings and relatives, or um, what your communication style is like. And for some of you, you could actually be going back to complete a very important body of work. Maybe this is like a documentary, maybe this is you writing a book. And for others of you, this could indicate that you are actually going to be redefining your mindset, because the 3rd house indicates how we think about things. So, Pluto in the 3rd house could see you considering things more deeply, or trying to shift out of some sort of negative thought pattern or cycle. So, if you struggle with obsessive or intrusive thoughts. Pluto re-entering Capricorn in your third house can see you finding ways to um, work with these things that you may deem to be an issue for you, and coming out the other side, especially in 5.5 months' time when Pluto's direct again, having overcome these certain mental battles or challenges. And certainly you could see even more progress by the time you get to January 2024 when Pluto re-enters the sign of Aquarius. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to re enter the sign of Pisces. Sorry, keep saying re enter. I mean, Saturn is going to station retrograde in Pisces in your fifth house, and it will be retrograde from 7 back till 0 degrees. So the Scorpios who will be most impacted will be those between 0 and 7 degrees. So this can see you working on perhaps making changes to your business. If you own your own business, this can see you rebranding or restructuring, maybe changing the name of your business or what it is that you offer in the way of services or sales, like the products that you sell. On a different note, this can see you um, maybe making some changes to your parenting style. If you own, oh my God, I was going to say own your own children. If you have your own children, sorry guys, I'm 2 hours deep and I'm starting to, mix up my words. Anyway, so this can see you changing up your parenting style, or maybe you are finding that you have to um, create more of a structure or a routine for your children. Maybe you are having to step into the role of disciplinarian, and this could be quite uncomfortable for you. On a different note, some of you may be putting your romantic relationship on pause or taking a break from dating. And for others of you, you could be working really hard at rebuilding a romantic relationship that you have with another person. Lastly, the fifth house rules over your hobbies and passions and your creative abilities. So, Saturn retrograde here in the fifth house could indicate that you're actually trying to hone these further and really become a master over your craft. Now, on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini at 26 degrees, and this will be occurring in your eighth house, and it will be conjunct Mercury. So, with this new moon occurring in your eighth house, this indicates that there is a new chapter or a new beginning that is starting here. So, this could see you maybe opening up a bank account with another person or sharing your resources with another person. This can indicate that a new sexual relationship may be beginning. You may be starting therapy, or you could actually be learning about astrology or doing something like a short-term education course, maybe with Reiki or tarot. So you could be learning about these esoteric and occult topics. On a different note, the eighth house is associated with um, emotional intimacy and vulnerability. So this could see you working really hard on being able to be vulnerable with other people. And the eighth house is associated with secrets and, let's say, emotional blockages. So you could actually be working on releasing some of these. And so, Scorpio, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Enjoy your month ahead, and I will hopefully see you guys next month. So, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. On the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your first house at 13 degrees. The Sagittarians who will be the most impacted will be those at about 13 degrees, plus or minus 5. So, between, let's say, 8 degrees and 18 degrees. Nevertheless, a full moon in your first house indicates that you can be having some sort of breakthrough. Maybe you are concluding some sort of creative project. Maybe there's something that you're really proud of yourself for that you've completed. This could be the end of a difficult chapter or a cycle, which has been something you've been dealing with over the last 6 months since we had the new moon in Sagittarius. This could be you having an epiphany about how you see yourself, the path or trajectory that you are on. You could be overcoming an emotionally difficult chapter. Um, some of you could be um, receiving a promotion at work or some sort of um, recognition, especially because this full moon will be trine Mars in Leo. To be fair, it will be squaring Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn will be it will be squaring Saturn in Pisces in your fourth house. So while all of this is occurring, there may be some sort of um, let's say responsibilities with respect to your family or your home life or your property and living circumstances, or this could just be a bittersweet chapter in some way, shape, or form. Just bear with me, guys. Mm. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus will enter the sign of Leo. So, Venus will be transiting your ninth house for 4 months. Okay, so until early October. And that means that the ninth house and matters of the ninth house will be of extreme importance to you during this period of time. The reason why Venus is spending so long in Leo is because it will have a retrograde cycle from the 22nd of July, which I will be going into detail about in my July horoscopes. So if you want to catch those, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel. I will be doing my July filming or my July video rather early in June. So nevertheless, with Venus in Leo in your ninth house, this indicates that there is an enormous focus on your education, travel, your belief systems, your relationship with your father. The ninth house also rules over import and export as well as publishing. So, your relationships of an international capacity will be um, at the forefront of your mind. Obviously, not all of you have relationships that are with people overseas, but if you do, you may be focusing on these connections, or you could be interested in learning about um, other cultures. You could be looking at how you can deepen your knowledge in certain areas, whether this is intuitive or spiritual knowledge, which the ninth house rules over. There could be a focus on religion for you. There could be a big focus on your belief systems and how you view the world. On a different note, this indicates that you could be working towards traveling overseas, maybe planning a big trip. Some of you may be focusing on how you can obtain uh, certain visas or maybe permanent residency. With the ninth house ruling over legal matters and let's just say court cases and the law, for some of you, you could be looking at things from a legal perspective. So you could be engaging the services of solicitors, especially because Venus rules over your sixth house, which rules over um, conflicts of all kinds. And the sixth house is also a legal house. But just remember that Venus is trining you. Okay, so this is a very, very positive transit for Sagittarians because Venus is a planet of love. It is associated with finances, resources, as well as relationships. And even though Venus is in the ninth house, and the ninth house is not typically associated with romance, Venus is a planet of love and romance, and it's trining you and trining your fifth house. So this can still have a very positive impact on your romantic life. And maybe this indicates a long distance relationship that you are navigating, or this could involve romance with a foreigner. Moving along, though, on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re enter the sign of Capricorn in your second house, and it will be retrograde for about 5.5 months. It will be re entering Aquarius on in January 2024. So there is this big focus for you on tying up loose ends with respect to money matters. So, finances, valuables, resources. Maybe you are paying people back, given that we've got Pluto representing mutual resources. This could be indicative of having to shuffle around certain investments and valuables and resources um, in order to service certain agreements that you have with other people in relation to these mutual resources. On a different note, this is just a huge shift in your personal set of values. So, this can see you focusing on what brings you joy, what brings you happiness. Maybe you are having to change up your diet because the second house rules over food. In any case, by the end of this retrograde cycle, which again will be in about 5.5 months, this can see you having reestablished your value system and prioritizing yourself, and just making sure that people aren't exploiting you or taking you for a ride. So, this is like reclaiming your personal power and authority with respect to your financial situation and your values and priorities. So, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to station retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and this will be occurring in your fourth house. So, with Saturn being retrograde here, um, this indicates that your property and living circumstances, your family life, your home life, as well as your sense of emotional security is being called into question. So, this is what you're focusing on. This is what you're focusing on, maybe deconstructing or rebuilding or just reestablishing foundations with. So, for some of you, especially if you are Sagittarians between 0 and 7 degrees, which is the retrograde degrees, this indicates that you may be looking at renovating your home, building, making structural changes to the foundations of your home. Or maybe this is to do with like planting and gardening, just because planting trees or whatever, just because the fourth house rules over land and gardening. This can indicate that you are re-establishing foundational relationships with your family, with your ancestry, understanding your lineage, understanding the formation of it as well. You could be setting important boundaries with family members. So you may have to assert yourself and assert your values within these relationships and connections, especially because Saturn rules over your second house, which is Capricorn. So, on a different note, though, this can see you working really hard on your sense of emotional security, because the fourth house rules over your emotional security, and Saturn retrograde here can see you um, focusing from perhaps a healing perspective or a psychological perspective, thanks to Pisces, on how to really firm that up so that you don't feel as sensitive or vulnerable. I'm not saying that you guys feel that way necessarily. Just remember that this is a general reading. Now, also on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini in your seventh house, and this will be taking place at 26 degrees. So, first of all, the new moon is conjunct Mercury, and it will be squaring Neptune. So, Because the new moon is at 26 degrees, the Sagittarians who will feel this the most will be those between 21 degrees and 29 degrees Sagittarius. So new moons indicate a new chapter taking place or a new cycle. This indicates that you may be um, starting a new business partnership, signing new contracts, entering into a higher level of commitment within an existing relationship. For some of you, this could be in a romantic sense, so getting into a relationship, getting engaged, proposing, or talking about maybe even um, like living together or what the future holds. With the square to Neptune, this indicates that there may be a sacrifice that has to be made. And again, this could be to do with family, this could be to do with your living circumstances, or this could be confusion about where the two of you stand with respect to living circumstances and family. On a different note, this can indicate maybe forming an important new friendship, or entering into a new contract, uh, a contractual relationship. So maybe you are doing some freelance work or doing some consulting, especially because the new moon is in Gemini and it's conjunct Mercury, which rules over your 10th house. So you could be getting a new job. That's another way that this could be playing out. Now, sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. With this new moon occurring in your seventh house, this could be that you are making a promise to someone or making a commitment, even if nothing is necessarily changing within that relationship. This could just be a very important conversation that you are having with another person. And maybe this is with respect to what the long term plan is or what the long term vision is, given that Mercury, which is the ruler of the new moon, will actually be squaring Saturn, which just talks about that long term intention or commitment. So, Sagittarius, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And now I'm going to move on to Capricorn. So, I've just got 3 signs left to go. Um, if things go according to plan, should be about 10 minutes each per sign, but things don't normally go to plan. So Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Risings. On the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your 12th house. So it's very psychological in nature. You could be having a very profound experience or reading with maybe like an astrologer or a tarot reader or a medium or a psychic. This could be you having some sort of intuitive download of information. You could be discovering a new intuitive gift for yourself. Just bear with me, guys. On a different note, this could indicate that you are finishing up some sort of creative project, and maybe this is to do with music, creative writing, poetry, something to do with film or acting or photography. On a different note, this could see you maybe discovering important spiritual knowledge or esoteric knowledge, and this could be quite a breakthrough for you. And you could be having maybe even like a premonition in a dream or a vision, which comes to you like an intuitive vision. And lastly, this could be you understanding certain um, self sabotaging behavior and how you may have been limiting yourself in some way, shape, or form. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, which means it will be transiting your 8th house, and it will be here for 4 months. Venus rules over your 5th house, which is Taurus, and it also rules over your 10th house, which represents your 10th house represents your career. So with Venus being in the 8th house, there could be some significant changes and shifts that are happening with respect to your career or to your romantic relationship, sex and dating life, your relationship with your children, and also your business if you own your own business. Ultimately, Venus is a planet which is considered to be the lesser benefic. Benefic meaning it brings some sort of benefit or good fortune or good luck. It's a money planet, and it represents love and relationships. So, with Venus being in your eighth house, this indicates that for the next 4 months, there could be a huge focus on um, being able to be vulnerable and intimate with other people, your sex life, money matters, mutual resources, as well as deep and profound healing as it pertains to your romantic life, sex life, dating life, your relationship with your children, if you have children, and maybe even your relationship with your father, given that Venus rules over the 10th house. But just generally speaking, it wouldn't surprise me if there is um, some big shifts happening for you with respect to relationships of all kinds. And this could also indicate that you may be um, changing up the nature of your mutual resources with other people. So maybe you are going into business with another person, maybe you're opening up a joint bank account, or maybe you are looking at how you can disengage or take a step back from the resources that you share with other people. Look, I will be going into a lot of detail about the Venus retrograde transit, which will be occurring on the 22nd of July. So if you're curious about this, I would recommend that you um, subscribe to the channel and check out my July horoscopes, which I will be filming in early June. Lastly, Venus in the eighth house indicates that there is some sort of deep healing that is taking place for you, Capricorns. So, your relationships can be transformed for the better. You can experience more intimacy. You can experience an improvement in your sex life. And all of this aside, this is like you becoming more comfortable with delving into your own emotions. Now, on the 11th of June, Pluto will re-enter the sign of Capricorn, and it will be transiting your first house once more. So it will be retrograde for about 5.5 months, and it will re-enter Aquarius again in January 2024. So ultimately, this is you guys tying up loose ends, and maybe certain things that you thought you had overcome, or certain chapters and cycles that you thought had come to a close are being reopened somehow. Or maybe there's just another test of your willpower and of your resolve. So this is a time where you would be doubling down on your um, reclamation of personal power and authority. Pluto rules over your um, 11th house, which is where you have Scorpio. So this could be with respect to your wider network, your friends, your sense of community and belonging, and your long term goals and dreams. This can see you re-establishing your efforts to cultivate these relationships and friendships that you have with other people, or maybe you're trying harder to um, take a step back from certain relationships, or communities that you used to be part of that are trying to sort of pull you back in. This can see you reasserting yourself when it comes to your boundaries, your position in life, what you want to achieve, who you are, what you stand for, and ultimately, this could even be seen as you um, doubling down on presenting yourself in a more transformed capacity when it comes to how you talk, speak, how you present yourself, how you are physically presenting, how you dress, how you carry yourself, and what you feel that your life purpose is. So, this can be about you becoming more authentic in your self expression. Now, on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon. Saturn, which is your ruling planet, will station retrograde in the sign of Pisces in your third house. So this indicates that you are going back over things that you have learned since the 7th of March, whether these are education courses or programs. You could be editing a book that you've written. You could be making changes to your business if you own your own business, or changing up the products that you sell and the services that you offer. You could be pruning your client relationships and just focusing on those core client contracts and relationships that you have. You may have to put certain projects on pause. Projects that you thought were finished may now need to be revisited or edited in some capacity. This can see you resitting tests or exams, or you could even be going back to finish a study, an education program. You could be completing some sort of content creation. Maybe you have been putting together an education program yourself. On a different level, the third house rules over friends, family, and friends, relatives, and siblings. So you could be putting some strong boundaries in place with these individuals, or you could be looking at rebuilding these friendships. In any case, Saturn will be retrograde for 5.5 months, and it will be retrograde from 7 degrees back to 0 degrees. Lastly, for you guys in June, also on the 18th, there will be a new moon in Gemini conjunct Mercury in your 6th house. So the 6th house rules over work, health, and daily habits and routines. So this can see you starting a new job, maybe welcoming some new employees on board. This can see you um, engaging the services of health care practitioners, and they don't need to necessarily be like traditional. It doesn't need to be like Western medicine. This could even be alternative forms of healing that you're looking into. On a different note, some of you may be welcoming a new pet into your life because the 6th house rules over pets. On a different note level, this new moon in your 6th house could see you implementing new important daily habits and routines. And because of the square that the new moon is going to make to Neptune, it could be that you have to make a sacrifice. So maybe you are sacrificing certain foods. Maybe you are, Neptune rules over substances and alcohol. So maybe you are giving up drinking or giving up recreational drug use. On a different level, some of you may just be taking a step back with certain medicine that you are taking. And also, I'm absolutely not giving any kind of medical advice at all. These are just a few ways that that this new moon can be playing out. And lastly, some of you may actually be looking at taking out a loan because the 6th house rules over loans. So Capricorn, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'm now going to move on to Aquarius, and then I'm going to finish up with Pisces. And then I'm going to have a very late lunch and do some yoga, in case you're wondering. So, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. On the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house. So, this indicates that you may be finishing up a long-term project that you've been working on, or you could be completing some sort of goal that you have. You could be walking away from a certain community that you've been part of, or even a friendship group. On a different note, the 11th house is all about rewards and recognition. So some of you could actually be receiving recognition for a job well done, or you could be let's say, appreciated by your wider network, or receive some sort of support or congratulations may be in order. So, this could be a time where somehow you are in the limelight in your friendship group or maybe in an online capacity. This full moon will be trining Mars in Leo in your seventh house. So it could be that you are receiving support from a friend of yours, or maybe from your significant other or from your spouse. To be fair, this full moon is squaring Neptune. This full moon will be squaring Saturn in Pisces in your second house. So you may have to, um, there may be some sort of limitation or restriction here when it comes to finances, valuables, and resources. Just as a random example, you may receive some sort of financial compensation or reward, but maybe you need to um, get this checked by some sort of authority figure, or there could be a bit of a delay until you can actually receive it. On a different note, this can indicate that there may be a difference in your value system, because the second house rules over your personal set of values. And so this could see your friendship network or a friend of yours being in, let's say, um, your values and their values could not be aligned in some way, shape, or form. I hope that makes sense. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus will enter the sign of Leo in your seventh house. This is huge for Aquarians because Venus is a planet of love and relationships, and the seventh house rules over your one to one personal relationships. Venus will be here for 4 months until early ish October. And it will be there for so long because there will be a retrograde motion from the 22nd of July. So there is a huge focus for you guys over the next 4 months on your personal relationships with friends, with business partnerships, with contracts, with clients, and certainly with any romantic relationship that you are in. This indicates that there are big changes coming to these relationships when it comes to, with respect to your values, if you're on the same page. This is a time where where Aquarians may be entering into a relationship as well. So if you want to know more about this transit, I recommend you subscribe to the channel and watch my July forecast, which I will film in early June because I'll be going into a lot of detail here. And lastly, I just want to say that there could be a focus on your property and living circumstances with Venus in Leo over the next 4 months, because Venus rules over your fourth house of property. Now, on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn, which means it will be transiting your 12th house. And it will be there, it'll be retrograde for the next 5.5 months, but it will be in Capricorn until January 2024. So this is a lot of soul searching for you guys, deep healing, removing blockages, removing self-sabotaging behavior, maybe discovering certain secrets, especially if these are connected to Pluto ruling over your 10th house, which means your relationship with your father, or maybe just workplace secrets. I don't want to make this doom and gloom. Pluto is going to spend 5.5 months retrograde. So this is more about the psychological underlying effects of such things. So this could be to do with your relationship with authority figures, how you feel about yourself in the workplace, or in terms of your public reputation, your public identity. There could be a little bit of an ego death that is happening here as you get to the root cause of what's truly important in your life. And also, you may be rediscovering what's important to you when it comes to life purpose and what you want to achieve and how you want to be perceived in society. Now, on the 18th of June, Saturn is going to retrograde, station retrograde in Pisces, and Saturn is your ruling planet, so its motions and its transits do have a big impact on you. It'll be retrograde in your second house for about 5.5 months, from 7 degrees back to 0 degrees. Just one moment, guys. So this can see you changing up your financial situation, what your expenses are, how much you're investing, getting a better understanding of the money that's coming in and the money that's going out. You may be a little tighter on the purse strings over the next 5.5 months as you are maybe saving for something, or maybe there's a reason for you to conserve your funds and just be a little bit more prudent with how you are spending your money and what it is that you are investing in. On a different note, this can see you doing a lot of um, important foundational work when it comes into your sense of self-worth. So you could be working really hard on cultivating a higher level of self-worth and focusing on how you can develop stronger foundations and how you can act more in alignment with what your values are. And on a different note, Saturn being retrograde in your second house could indicate that there are dental matters that you are pursuing. So you could be having some sort of dental treatment take place. You could be um, fixing dental work that had been done in the past, and that's about it for Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Also, on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini at 26 degrees, and this will be trining you, which is really, really positive. So, this will be occurring at 26 degrees. Sorry, guys, my voice is starting to fade. Mm. So, the new moon's at 26 degrees, which means it will be trining you. The Aquarians who will feel this the most will be those between 29 and 29 degrees. And with this new moon taking place in the fifth house, which is a lucky and fun house, this could indicate that you may be re entering the dating pool. You may meet someone special. You may enter into a relationship or take your existing romantic relationship to a new level. You could be starting to um, try for expanding your family or looking to get pregnant. On a different note, this could be a new creative hobby or passion which you are discovering and pursuing. Maybe you're starting your own business, or maybe you just have the concept for an idea for a new business. In any case, this is an exciting new moon as it trines you. But to be fair, it will be squaring Neptune in Pisces in your second house. So there may be a question here of, do I have the funds to pursue this? Do I have the resources? Or perhaps somehow your personal set of values could be thrown into question as you embark on this new chapter. But I still see this new moon as being overwhelmingly positive for you specifically because it is trining you as an Aquarius sun, moon, and rising. Or rising. So, Aquarius, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And now I'm going to finish up with Pisces. So, thank you, Pisces, for your patience. Let's have a look. So, on the 4th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your 10th house at 13 degrees. So the Pisceans who will feel this the most strongly will be those between, sorry guys, I'm going to need even more water, will be Pisces between 8 degrees and 18 degrees. Full moons in the 10th house can indicate receiving a promotion, receiving recognition in the workplace, getting a new job, maybe walking away from a job, letting go of certain leadership responsibilities, On a different note, this can indicate there being a shift in your public reputation or your public identity. I'm so sorry. Just in the last 10 minutes, of course, this happens. Anyway, where was I? So, with the full moon occurring in your 10th house, this can indicate that there is an important conversation or closure that you are having with respect to your boss, an authority figure. There may be a change in your relationship status that is taking place. And this full moon will actually be trining Mars in Leo. So there is some sort of positive that is coming out of this. So this can see you being rewarded for maintaining your willpower or your personal stance in a situation. This indicates that you will be able to sustain the level of drive and tenacity required for you to, let's say, come out on top, especially when it comes to your public reputation or something to do with your work and career. Now, on the 5th of June, Venus is going to enter the sign of Leo, and it will be there for about 4 months until early October, and it will have a retrograde cycle for about 7 weeks, starting on the 22nd of July. The 6th house rules over your health, your daily habits and routines, your work, pets, as well as loans. So some of you may be looking at taking out a loan during this time or paying someone back. You may be employing people to work for your business if you own your own business. There may be changes to your work relationships and your business relationships. You may be you may actually go through some sort of recalibration of your personal relationships with other people, just because Venus is a relationship planet and the 6th house is typically associated with some sort of conflict. But just remember that Venus is a benefic planet. It's about love, valuables, finances, resources. So with Venus in your 6th house, this is about healthier daily habits, healthier eating habits, healthier relationships with other people. And I am going to go into a lot of detail about this in my July horoscopes, which I'll be filming in early June. So if you want to know more about that, I do recommend that you subscribe to the channel and watch my July horoscopes. So moving along, on the 11th of June, Pluto is going to re-enter the sign of Capricorn in your 11th house. So this indicates you experiencing deep transformations, powerful transformations with friends, with your wider network, with communities that you are part of or that you no longer want to be part of. This can see you realizing and actualizing important long-term goals and dreams for yourself. You know, what's truly important to you? What do you want to focus on? This can indicate that someone may be investing in you and investing in your business ventures. And this can indicate that you are entering into important new collaborations with other people. Maybe you're sharing resources with other people, or maybe you are working on an important community project. This can see you healing certain relationships with friends, or redefining the nature of relationships in a very deep, powerful, and transformative way. Pluto will be retrograde for the next 5.5 months, and it will re-enter the sign of Aquarius in January 2024. So, you know, we really are closing out the whole rest of the year with Pluto in Capricorn in your 11th house, and with there just being this big focus on friendships for you and your wider network. On the 18th of June, Saturn is going to station retrograde in Pisces in your first house. It will be retrograde from 7 degrees back to 0 degrees. So the Pisceans who will be the most impacted will be those between 0 and 7 degrees. So even still, no matter what Pisces you are, you will feel it. This is about you guys restructuring or rebuilding your personal life from the ground up. So, this is about setting stronger boundaries in place, not allowing other people to take advantage of you, really crystallizing and being solid in who you are, your life purpose, what you want to achieve in the world, what you stand for, what you will and won't tolerate, or what you will and won't accept. If you are a Pisces sun, or even a Pisces rising, this is very much about your work and establishing yourself, with respect to career. Some of you may be taking a step back from work for a few months. This could be because you are tending to family matters or your health, mental health, or maybe you're just having a bit of a break for one reason or another. If you're a Pisces moon, this is more about your relationships. And also, this can indicate that some of you may be pregnant. Okay, Saturn in the same sign as your moon or rising sign is a high level indicator for pregnancy, just because um, of the pressure that it puts on the physical body. On a different note, Saturn retrograde in Pisces in your first house could indicate that you're working really hard on owning your own business or on maintaining daily habits and routines, and just feeling like um, you're getting through tasks that are very necessary and that are going to help shape your future. Now, lastly, for the month, on the 18th of June, there will be a new moon in Gemini at 26 degrees in your fourth house, and it will be squaring you as a Pisces sun, moon, or rising. The Pisces who will feel it the most will be those between 21 and 29 degrees. In any case, this indicates that there's a new chapter or a new cycle starting when it comes to your property and living circumstances. Maybe you're buying, maybe you're looking at selling, maybe you're looking at changing up your living circumstances. You could be moving in with someone could be moving in with you. On a different note, this could be purchasing a new investment property, getting new tenants. That kind of covers the living side of things, but new development with respect to home life is a big one. On a different note, this could indicate looking at starting a family or getting pregnant. So obviously we've now got 2 counts for expanding family. On a different note, though, this could be a new development that occurs within your family life. So maybe this is, a new chapter with respect to your relationship with your mother or your father or someone in your family. The fourth house is also associated with our emotional health and well being. So, this could be you looking at what makes you feel emotionally secure, or how can you work on um, emotional triggers that may be coming up for you. I'm not going to lie, because this new moon is in Gemini in your fourth house and it's squaring you and it's squaring Neptune, this could be an emotional period of time, an emotionally turbulent period of time, but it doesn't mean that anything is happening in your physical surroundings. It could just be that deep within you, you feel like your emotions are a little bit all over the place. So this is on the 18th of June, plus or minus 1 or 2 weeks. Please go easy on yourselves. It doesn't mean that this new moon is bad news. In fact, the new moon is conjunct Mercury, which rules over your 7th house. So this could be, some of you may be starting a new relationship or looking at moving in with your significant other, or having a very important clarifying conversation with a family member or with your significant other. So Pisces, if you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up and please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And that concludes my June horoscopes. So whoever is still here and whoever's watching till the end, I hope that you have a beautiful June 2023. Thank you so much for your support. Wishing you many blessings, and I will see you in July.